All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Campfire Show. This is going to be a very special show today. I have the immense pleasure of welcoming Alan Ranciato and Nathalia Silva from Google to join me today. And they're going to be here to answer your questions. You may have seen earlier this week that we announced a partnership between Nucamp and Google Cloud. I'll go into the details of that, but as you know, this show is very much about asking Nathalia and Alan how they got into tech, how they joined Google, their journey that they took to get there, and of course, answering your questions. So you may be listening to us right now on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube. You know you can ask your questions in the chat, and we're going to see it right here. We'll answer your questions as they come, as we also have our conversation. You also can join radio style, almost, I will say. You can join the show by dialing in. So if you follow this link here, you have your video camera on and your microphone on, you will be able to join us and appear on the stream with your video camera and ask your questions live. So that's always fun when we see someone do that. All right, so that's for the introductions. We'll talk about the partnership with Google in a few minutes. I just want to start with asking you, Alan and Nathalia, to briefly introduce yourself to the audience. What is your current position at Google? What do you do over there? And then after that, we'll do another round asking about your expertise, your background, and your path into Google. Okay, let's start. Let me actually clockwise. I don't know if you see it the way I see it, but clockwise. Alan, how about you start with the introductions, and then we'll go to Nathalia.
Sure. Thanks, Ludo. So my name is Alan Ranciato. I am a learning portfolio manager at Google Cloud. What that means is I help define the learning paths, the courses, the stuff we need to put out to our end users, our partners, our employees for learning Google Cloud around application development and app modernization.
Great. And we'll actually paste the URL of that website that we're actually integrating into our curriculum in a few seconds. Nathalia, how about you? Would you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Thanks. Hi, everyone. So my name is Nathalia Silva, and I work with Alan at Google. We both work in learning services for cloud, and Alan's the one that puts the learning paths together, and myself, I get them, and I just making sure that they look good and that they are passing the right message for our customers.
Awesome. And we have the audience saying hello already. Krista, hello. Hey, Krista, how are you doing? Thanks. Great to have you. Can't wait to get cloud ready. Yes, indeed. We have Michael here. Good afternoon, Michael. Thank you for being here. So let me actually, I did prepare the website. We may even do a demo if we can, but let me paste the URL. So really what we're talking about here is the Google Cloud Skills Boost website that really hosts all the Google Cloud labs. And so before getting into that, and everyone, you should actually feel free to just click that link that I just pasted. But would you mind, Alan, maybe telling us a little bit about your background, your expertise, and then we'll ask the same question to Nathalia.
Sure. So I've been in Google for a little over 3 years now. I've been in the role I'm in currently for a little over a year. Prior to that, I joined Google as a customer engineer, which is the sales side of engineering. Quite different because I've never been in that type of role before, but it was a good way to get into Google, to talk to customers. I've done a lot of consulting in my career and really get in front of customers and work and get my hands dirty and play with all the fun stuff that Google builds while actually getting paid for it. My journey. So yeah, my journey to Google was kind of long. I'm what do we call industry veteran, I guess, is the nice term for an old guy. I've been around for a while. I started my career in help desk, actually, and worked my way through infrastructure and then got into development probably 20 something years ago. And worked my way through developer and management, leadership, back to architecture because management and leadership. And, just I've done pretty much everything. Everything you can think of, I've done it in tech. And, it's been a fun ride. And Google is, been kind of the place you want to go. And
Oh yeah.
I finally got there. So,
yeah, many people think the same thing that way. We'll get back to all those jobs that you had, Alan, because I know the audience often is exposed to very stereotypical jobs in tech. You're a developer, you're an IT support, but I mean, opening the eye of a lot of diversity in profiles and job descriptions that could actually get you in tech and maybe actually evolve around those core jobs. That's going to be very interesting. Before going to you, Nathalia, just want to say hi to Justin here. Thank you for joining. Aiza, thank you for joining as well. Zikan, thank you for joining. I hope I pronounce it right. And then we're seeing a few questions. Billy, we'll get to your question. I know that's going to be an interesting one. But let's go to you, Nathalia, now. What is your background and your expertise, and maybe how did you get into Google in the first place?
Yeah. So I have an untraditional background. I did start my, academic career in civil engineering. So I wanted to be an engineer. And then when I was studying, more physics and math, I really liked computing. So I changed to computer science. And if I look back, I really like computer programming. I love computing, cloud, all these things. And technology really excites me. So never looked back. And then while I was in college for computer programming, I did start academic club. And then with that, I got the opportunity to be a Google ambassador here at Google, Toronto, Canada. So I became a Google ambassador, and that really got me thinking about Google and dreaming about working at Google after I graduated. So a few years within my career, I applied for Google and then I got my job. And then now I'm working with Alan and I really enjoy being here. Yeah.
And that path is, I think, for the audience, very important to notice, because there's a lot of students who will dream to work, in what we call a FANG company. But oftentimes it's going to be very, very, very hard to get into a Google or Microsoft as a first job right after, college or right after a boot camp. So really hearing that you took also a longer path to get into Google is probably the right thing to hear or to tell actually the audience. Alan, would you mind actually telling us a little bit, so you had different jobs. Do you mind going back to the very beginning of your education and kind of telling us what did you study in the first place? And then maybe step by step through those paths or those different jobs, how did you really end up maybe having the right skills or the right profile to get into Google?
What did I study? I studied a little bit of everything. I was a not the traditional four-year college student, let's put it that way. It took me a long time. I kind of pivoted a lot. I, went in and out of different industries and different things. I was self-taught in tech. It was a passion. So, I studied. This was back in the Microsoft MCSE days, where certifications were king. And, I did a lot of self-study, while I was working in, say, the restaurant industry. And I got my first job in tech as a help desk engineer or support, and then moved into a role where I was doing support and network management and kind of infrastructure management. And moved from there by someone I knew offered me a position to kind of learn and get into consulting, which was a development job. And, I really went into my first job. They threw me out at a customer, and it was a big customer, pretty well known. I don't know that I really want to talk about it, but, pretty big customer. I had never been a developer other than what they trained me and what I had self-taught. And they handed me a bunch of passwords, and I started making changes in production. And, the client came in and was like, "What are you doing?" And luckily I didn't screw anything up too bad. But, I went from there and just kind of progressed from there and learned on the job. And I ended up going back to school and completing a degree in technology management, which is kind of an applied MIS, not quite computer science, but applied MIS. And, I went from there, did that for a bit, went back to school, got an MBA. And, I've taken a lot of computer science courses along the way. And, I've been in and out of a lot of roles. I've gone through management roles. I've gone through architecture roles. I've done a little bit of everything since then. And, just taking myself here.
You've touched on a lot of things here that we tell the audience as well. First is, the first job is not the most important. It's the most important job to get your foot in the door and to open the path for the future. And I know some of the people in the audience are really set sometimes on, I want to have a software engineering position right after the coding bootcamp, when there's other positions that are not necessarily on that pedestal, like QA engineer or tester or desk. And you may not exactly have studied for that, but it really it places you into that position to then move to the next phase. And that's very much what you did. And so that's great actually to have a testimonial of someone who started at the help desk and then moved up, right? And then what you mentioned is networking. You knew someone that offered you that next job. And again, networking very much is what we're really telling the audience is key to find your first job and then progress in your career. Because you can apply on LinkedIn, send 200 and 300 resumes a week, but actually networking and actually being known by someone is going to probably get you there maybe easier and faster. Now,
in 25 years, I don't think I've got a job by just applying for a job in probably 20 of them.
yes.
So it's yes, you speak the truth.
Let me ask you this. Did you feel at any point in time during that journey the imposter syndrome? And are you familiar with it? We talk about it a lot. Did you feel that at any point in time in your career?
I'd say at Google is absolutely the most thing. And, it's funny, at Google, it's the first thing they teach you when you're in orientation. It really is. But, here we're working with some of the smartest people in the world, which is crazy. And just understanding what we have going on here, it really is crazy. It definitely did when I was younger as part of my career where, like I said, I was thrown to the wolves and didn't know what I was doing. I was, fake it till you make it type thing.
Yeah.
But definitely when you do know what you're doing and then you come in and you're with people that you're just like blows your mind, the people you're working with every day. And you're like, oh, I just ran into Vint Cerf in the elevator at Google. And for anybody who doesn't know, he's the creator of TCP/IP. And he works at Google out of the DC office. Or, I did a webcast with Kelsey Hightower recently, who is, probably the world-renowned Kubernetes expert right now.
Yeah.
So, there's just like people like that we meet every day and we talk to every day here at Google. It just makes you, it humbles you. And so you do get that imposter syndrome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And for actually sharing that, it's kind of normal to experience it. And it may never go away as you progress in your career. You just have to, it brings you back to your humble self in a way. Let me say hi to a few folks. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I was just going to add to that, like, this is the experience that Alan has, already having so much background before coming to Google. So imagine myself, I
Yeah.
came straight from college. I did have experience for not 20 years, like how Alan had before Google. Imposter syndrome, it is a challenge. I do feel that it kicks in maybe every day, but at the end of the day, just understanding why we love it and we love what we do. I feel that this helps me, I guess, dealing with imposter syndrome. So yeah.
Thank you, Natalia. Well, let's talk about your journey because it's a very inspiring one as well. You are a community leader, and I know you've done great things in Toronto, and that probably actually put you on the map of Google recruiters. But we'd love to hear. I mean, how did you? Well, let's start at the beginning as well, just like Alan. Let's go back to college days. What did you learn, and how did you get ultimately into Google? But really tell us about those what was on your journey, because there's a lot of inspiring moments.
Yes, I feel that my journey, like, did start at college. I guess the usual, going to school and going back home, studying again, and coding a lot, and getting very frustrated, I guess troubleshooting things. But then I did notice, as you mentioned, that networking was very important. So I started going to many events like the one that we're hosting today, and just getting to hear more from the industry and understand as well the path of those who were working on the things that I wanted to work to. So that was really game changing, just understanding that I needed to network, I need to be, guys, not so much in my computer programming, but understanding as well what was out there. So that was very important. So I started going to networking events, and one of these events was actually hosted by Google, and it was a study jam. So like they getting together to discuss cloud technology. I do feel that that was something that really helped me first, I guess, get that passion for cloud, and then secondly, just get more curious to know about it. So that was what happened. And then afterwards, I noticed that we didn't have much of those events here in Toronto. So I
Mm.
started myself hosting those events. So that's how I became a Google ambassador here. And then as well, I noticed that women technology was a challenge. So I branched out the academic club that I created and created a branch of it just for women. And then it's Women Developers Toronto. So we started doing events dedicated for women, getting women in the industry as well to come talking to other females in tech to get inspired. And then I do feel that this was very good for me issue I was still learning a lot in these events. And then lastly, I did start to, I guess, just understanding more about certification and getting credentials as well. I believe that that was everything that I had on my path to Google. And then I did start working as a security analyst, and I like it. It was great to have this different view of technology. I feel that we have so many different industries within technology. I do feel security is one that many people overlook most times. So I started working there. I really like it. But then Google opened a role that really spoke to me. So I applied, and here I am.
Wow, that's very impressive. And so you are the founder of, and let me look at your LinkedIn profile. You are the founder of Women Developers in Toronto,
Yes.
um, which is a community of women really trying to. Actually, do you want to actually describe to me what the purpose of and the vision for the group is?
Yes, for sure. So as I said, just creating community for women technology here in Toronto. I noticed that I guess we don't have much of female-led or female-tailored groups here in technology. So the main goal of the whole group is just having community, and then secondly, just connecting people in technology with the industry. So mostly just getting network going.
Oh, that's awesome. So, and let's actually say hi to a few folks. Here we have Heidi joining, and then I think Michael just made a quick comment on how he relates to your path, Alan, being in Desk as well. Hello, Louis. All right. So we have a ton of questions that I'm seeing. We'll get to that. Oh, and I think there's actually questions that I won't understand because I think it's Portuguese or Spanish. I don't even know. But do you see them, Alan and Nathalia? Do you see those questions?
Yeah, I think those are for Natalia.
It's Portuguese, right?
It's in Spanish though, but yes.
Okay. All right. So I want to take a moment to just explain briefly what the partnership is about, because it really connects to what you just described, Nathalia, with the Women in Tech Scholarship. So we've partnered together to bring the Google Cloud content into Nucamp's front-end and full-stack curriculum. And precisely what that means, it's that lab platform that I shared earlier in the stream that has tons of labs. Actually looked it up. It's like multiple thousands. How many labs, Alan, are you hosting on the platform today?
I don't even know the number. It's in the hundreds.
Yeah,
like the
that's
high
right.
hundreds.
I saw 1,000 something somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of good labs that really can help you get your hands on the platform, the cloud platform, the Google Cloud platform. So there's that aspect. We have integration into our curriculum. The students will have access to those labs subsidized by Google for 12 months. And here's the thing about the cloud that really students need to understand. Consuming resources in the cloud comes at a cost. It's not like, just running the software on your laptop where all you consume is really your own electricity. Consuming any resources on the cloud comes at a cost. And so whenever you want to learn the cloud, you're incurring costs. And so those costs will be actually covered by Google for 12 months as you learn the cloud, which is a pretty big deal. And then the third aspect of the partnership is a Women in Tech Scholarship, really to help women get into the world of software development, the world of cloud, and very much, in the same spirit that Nathalia, actually, you're doing in Toronto. So with that, at some point, we're going to have to take that question that I saw here from Billy. I'm totally fine trying to give my take on it. I don't know how comfortable, Alan or Nathalia, you would want to try to answer that question. You tell me.
I can give it a shot.
Okay. I defer to Alan, yes.
All right. And the question is about, what is the difference between Google Cloud and Amazon Web Services, AWS?
I'd say a lot of it's user experience. They are both cloud providers. They both provide resources. And, if you think of cloud as somebody else's computer, they both do that. So in similar ways, they are different in that each of them has their own kind of specialities. Google Cloud has a focus, I think, a lot on machine learning. And we are very, very heavy into machine learning and into data. Being that we started as a search company, it's really, there's a lot of benefits there. Both clouds are awesome. I can't disparage anything. They are just different ways to look at it. They both have their benefits. They both have, their quirks. I'll even say that. And I'm a fan of Google Cloud. I'm also a fan of AWS. They both have a lot of the same things and similar things and different ways to get things done. Put it that way.
Yeah. You want to take a shot at it, Nathalia, as well, or?
I think Alan answered very well. Yes.
Yeah. That's the political. Everything's awesome.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
What's interesting as well is the history for me of the clouds. When you see that both Amazon and Google really started operating large data centers for their own business.
Yep.
And really how the cloud was created is, having Google, Microsoft, Amazon having to deploy that infrastructure to operate their own business. and then really realizing, hey, we're building an expertise here. We're building an infrastructure that only because we are who we are, we can actually afford to do that. And then progressively, bringing that infrastructure and making it available to all customers. That's another interesting piece. And then seeing it, being worldwide on multiple data centers. What was very interesting, and I think we actually wrote it in our blog, is the statistics around cloud usage and how I think Gartner says by 2025, something like 96% of new applications are going to be cloud native. Like we were in memory, Alan, you and I, maybe we remember that. But 20 years ago, that number was probably way less.
I remember 2006 when Google came out with App Engine as the first serverless platform. And right. I don't know if you remember Google Gears.
Yes.
And that's what App Engine was. And so it's been interesting. It's been an interesting ride since then. And then Kubernetes. Everybody talks about Kubernetes. It's industry standard now. It came out of Google, and Google's open source. And now we've got managed Kubernetes with GKE, but it is a lot of the technologies you see out there that are just standard and nobody thinks about came out of Google, which is pretty crazy.
Yes. And Krista is making fun of me going back in time. We can't really ask all folks about 25 years ago. We have trouble remembering last week sometimes. Thank you. And Krista is a student. She's been on the show quite a bit. Always happy to have her here. Nathalia, please. I don't. Alan, do you speak Spanish? So I don't know that I can help here. Maybe
un poco.
Un poco.
In her defense, I know that she posted later the same question in English.
Oh, okay. Okay, so maybe we'll get there. Sorry for that. Hello, Jose. Kudos to you from Spotsy, Angel, Sia, Nathalia. Okay, all right, there you go. So, yes, and is it okay? Would you mind if I posted your LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, no problem.
All right, let me then do that real quick. So we have Nathalia's LinkedIn profile here, and then we have Alan's LinkedIn profile here. All right. Well, let's get back to our conversation. And so I went over the partnership, but we really want to talk about, why is learning cloud so important in your mind? Why is hands-on labs so helpful in doing that? And maybe actually taking it a little bit one step above, what is your group's goals overall? What are you trying to accomplish within Google? And if you can bring all of those things together, what you're trying to accomplish, why labs, why the cloud, that'll be fantastic. And whoever wants to start actually answering that question.
Do you know that I start
sure.
in the mission, and then I'll pass the mic to you. But our mission is really get people cloud ready and really giving them different ways to learn as well. We do know that people learn in different ways, so that's why we have on demand. So just building courses that people can follow. We also have labs on, I guess, to those who understand you better by practicing. But our main goal is just providing people with the different ways to learn, and as well just helping that next generation for cloud. As you said, Ludo, in the near future, we are going to be mostly digital native. So we do need to have as well the next generation ready. So that's our mission. Yeah, Alan?
Yeah, I'll actually take that in a different direction. So, before I joined Google, I was doing a lot of, it's called enterprise transformation. So a lot of, working with larger companies. I worked in healthcare, I worked in financial services, and how do we modernize applications and modernize what we're doing to get better, to get faster, to be able to release software, to be able to write software, to be able to test software, to get stuff out the door to our customers faster. Coming to Google, did my thing before I joined Learning Services. Now in Learning Services, I'm responsible for app development and app modernization. So under app modernization, I am basically finding ways and building courses and defining learning paths for people to learn how to use Google Cloud to be more efficient in their jobs. So development is development, but what you do with that, I can write software on my computer all day long, but how do I get it out to the public? How do I get people to use it? How do I make sure it's quality? How do I get it out there fast and work with other pieces of the organization? And so, my goal is to really train people on doing that and make sure that they understand not only how to do it, but what's available, so they understand kind of what good looks like.
Right. Let's and I was looking at some questions here, but we'll get back to that. Can you tell us what are the biggest challenges that you face in trying to accomplish that goal?
All right, I'll go. Understanding what people need. So there's a lot of different audiences. I'm working through trying to build stuff for experienced people who are coming from large enterprises, but also at the other end of the spectrum, Nucamp graduates, people who are just getting into the industry and understanding how to work with Google Cloud and what it means. And I see a lot of questions on here. What is cloud? What is Google Cloud? DevOps, I saw one just came up. And kind of understanding what folks are looking for from every aspect and every kind of like experience level, and what we need to teach them. And there's a lot of interactions with different pieces of the stack. Yeah. So it's not just development and you work in a silo. You have to understand how networking works. You have to understand how infrastructure works. And so we can all build Node.js, and not that we can all build Node.js. We all, when we graduate Nucamp, we can all build Node.js.
On top of Node.js.
Yeah. What do I do with that package? How do I actually deploy that package? How does it work? How does it get out to users? How does it scale to millions of users? And so that's what we're trying to do with Google Cloud, is actually get that knowledge out there.
Great. Yeah, Alan, if I can add to that, plus one to understand the learner, understand as well learning journey. As you could notice, Alan and I, we both did go to school, learned, but then afterwards we, I guess, went to learning more and just keeping on learning. So continuous learning as well. It's I guess another thing that we see with our customers, those who are already in the industry, but they want to get better on the skills, or those who are changing fields as well. So I guess biggest opportunities that we have is just understanding learners and as well learning journeys.
Yeah, no, that's great, because I think this is also where our relationship is probably going to add value, because we know beginners very well. I mean, we talk to them every day. Most people here that are attending are beginning their journey, or have been self-taught as well before. And yeah, Alan was texting me on the side. We'll get there. You're right. And yeah, so the cloud really has been designed primarily with experienced individuals or experienced practitioners in mind, I would say, first and foremost. And if you think about, engineering or computer science, you first you build stuff, and then you publish and host that stuff, and that comes after. And so that journey of really starting from first building something, and then integrating the knowledge of the cloud in how you bring that, that website, that mobile app to cloud services, it's it's a complicated journey. Actually, it's not a straightforward path because there's a hierarchy, I will say, of knowledge that you need to have. You can go. It's really hard to go straight to the cloud, right? And really understand everything that means. You have to have some prerequisites before, and so I think that's where we're going to be able to work quite well together. And I will say for our students, bear with us because we're going to perfect that path over time. We're going to make it better and better for beginners to go on that journey. And so Alan was telling me that there's a question from Andrew. And I think Andrew is one of our instructor actually. And if I'm not
cool.
mistaken, yeah. But DevOps is probably the hardest part for new devs. There's a lot to unpack here because DevOps wasn't always DevOps. It was just ops. And that explains also why it's so hard to grasp sometimes. It used to be two different jobs. You had developers with no knowledge of operations. You have operations with stringent rules to get into the operations world that devs have to actually to comply with. And then all of a sudden, a new role appears, DevOps. Alan, do you want to talk about what it means to be a DevOps those days?
Yeah. So you've hit something that's near and dear to my heart. So I've been a DevOps person for a while, working in architecture, and it's part of my transformation efforts. But Andrew, I feel like you're a plant. You're setting me up here. I like it. But yeah, from the hardest part of new devs is part of your statement there. It definitely is, because you can write code all day long, but knowing what to do with it is the hardest thing. And DevOps isn't about code. It isn't even about technology. It's about the communication. It's about kind of the people, process, technology that all goes into the end-to-end process of releasing code and like perfecting code and testing and getting everything out there, getting everything together. I'm actually doing a Google Next, a presentation on app modernization and kind of career progression through app modernization. I'm partnering with somebody that's part of our camp, which is our application modernization stuff. And she works with Dora, which is our DevOps research assessment stuff at Google. So we're talking about all of that and kind of like the people aspect and communications, and getting into the industry is the hardest thing because you haven't had those interactions. You don't know like how to work with operations. You don't know how code is actually deployed. You don't know about how to work with QA. You don't know how to work with the business side to say we've now signed off on this and we've met compliance and we've done all of the things from a writing code perspective and like delivering stuff. You write code and you're like, yeah, it works on my machine. Let's go. Let's push this out to production. Why not?
It works on
can I have the password to production so I can actually deploy this? And so, understanding the CI/CD pipeline, understanding release management and release engineering, and just all of the different pieces that come along with DevOps, and making sure your infrastructure is ready and things like that. It is. I saw DevOps as wizardry. It really is.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it is definitely hard to understand as a new developer, and getting that communication, just understanding it's a people skill versus a technical skill is really key to the process.
Interesting take. You mentioned Google Next, so let me actually make a plug here, because this is a significant event from Google, right? It's a yearly event, and it's just around the corner. I'm looking at it. It's October 11th to 13th, and there is a online live option as well to attend, I believe.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, if you anyone is interested to learn more about what Google has planned, and attend Alan's session. I don't know if your session will be streamed, maybe, Alan?
It will be. It's a breakout session.
So check this out. I want to say, before we actually move on to you, Nathalia, I have a few questions for you. If you want to join us, webcam, camera, microphone on, you can follow this link, url.nucamp.co/dial-in, and you can just be here with us with Nathalia and Alan and ask your questions. Let me see. Let me go back in time, see if there was any other question that we wanted to address first. Oh, yes. Well, let's talk about this one. I think, and then we'll resume our conversation with you, Nathalia. But Poe is asking, what are the tips to get into technical interview at Google? How do I make myself standing out among applicants? Do you have any recommendation that comes to mind to help folks who are interested in joining Google actually be in a good position to do that?
Alan, do you wanna there go? I talk about how to stand out, and then you talk about the technical part. Does that work
So
or no?
what I will say is personal experience. A lot of my, we talked about it earlier, a lot of my journey has been networking. So I knew people, I got recommendations, reach out to people you work with, reach out to people in your network that maybe work at Google, alumni networks, LinkedIn, things like that. It helps get in the door from, get the recommendations. They definitely help. Beyond that, I've got a lot of friends right now. And I say a lot, and it's like 3 because I don't have that many friends. But I've got friends who have gone through interviews lately at Google that did not necessarily have the recommendations before coming in, and had recruiters reach out to them. And they've gone through technical interviews, and some have been waitlisted, some have gotten in, some have been told we'll call you back in a year, which if you ever interview at Google and you hear that, they will call you back in a year. It's crazy. That happened to me. I went through this 5 years ago, and they called me back 4 years ago and said,
Wow.
yeah, we're interested in moving forward. I was like, do I have to re-interview? No, you're still on file. You're good. So they will call you back. It's just all about headcount and like how things work. But, so trust the process, but work with your recruiters. Definitely network as much as possible, but it's possible to get in the door and just chat and keep on trying. It's one of those things that it's just like it's an effort of love. Keep on trying. As far as technical interviews, everybody's heard the stories about how many golf balls can I fit in a school bus. We don't do that anymore. We don't. But it's truly just an effort of understanding, being real, and going through the interview process.
Great.
Yeah,
What would you say, Nathalia?
Yeah, if I can add to that, plus one to everything that Alan said, I would as well highlight that spending time in preparing your resume is very important. There's a lot of videos from Google recruitment online on YouTube. You can all follow. So they have a lot of guidance for, like, as Alan said, networking. Yeah, is number one. And I would just say as well, just taking the time to prepare your resume and just understand that that's literally how you knock in the door. So yes.
And Nathalia, tell me if I'm right. When you were an ambassador for Google, you were not an employee of Google.
No. Yeah.
But that certainly helped you stand out, right?
I feel that helped me with the networking itself because I got to know a lot of Googlers. I was invited as well to come to Google for an event. So that definitely helped me on my networking. And as well, the events were about Google technology. So it was a great way to get to know Google without being a Google, I would say. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. How do you become a Google ambassador?
Yes, it was the woman developer Toronto started to grow a lot. So it started to as well for attention of Google, and then I reached out to for establishing a partnership for an event, and then they invited me to be an ambassador. So yes.
So you were very proactive. Well, first you
Always.
built your own presence, and then you were proactive in reaching out to them. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, thank you for that. So that's I would like to discuss that with you, Nathalia. Obviously, so we have a Women in Tech scholarship co-sponsored with Google, and we've seen actually tremendous pickup. I mean, someone really, it's very, very encouraging. But the question I have for you, Nathalia, is what do you see the most common challenges that women and other communities may actually face in getting into tech today?
I feel the problem is within the whole pipeline as well. We don't see much conversion from high school to college. So we don't see female high school students choosing technology as a field. So from the very beginning of the pipeline, and then throughout as well, college, university, or untraditional journeys in tech, it is issue. We should have a male dominant I guess ecosystem. So it's not very inviting, I would say. So that's another problem. And this goes throughout the whole pipeline. So from the educational to the industry. So I would say that the ecosystem itself, it's not very inviting, but opportunities like the scholarship that we launched with you, Ludo, and other supporting programs, it really helps. It just show community, show support. I know that these really empower women technology.
Great. Do you want? I know you are. I mean, Google as a whole is doing a lot to support diverse communities, and I've heard of one, and I believe you're also part of that community. Do you want to say a few words about? Is that Google Tech Maker? I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Women tech makers.
That's
Women
right.
tech makers. Yes.
Yeah. Do you mind? Actually, would you like to say a few words about what this initiative is about and what you're trying to accomplish with it?
Yes, for sure. I was also involved with Uma Tech Makers throughout Uma Developers Toronto. So Uma Tech Makers is a Google program that provides Uma technology with the community and resources. So this means they either host events, either online or in person, or just provide resources for Uma technology just to first empower them and then secondly inspire them, and it's a very great program. It is connected as well with the Google developers groups, so meaning that they have partnerships for events that not UMA only. So yeah, it's a very great program. They have investors around the world as well, and yeah, I'm very proud to have been part of it.
That's great. Let me actually find the URL real quick so that we can share it with the audience. Google.
Women Tech Makers.
Yes, I found it. There we go. Let me find that and paste it over here. I mean, it's we've been talking about networking, and this is another great opportunity to really network locally because there's chapters, I think, in many cities or online. I've seen a question. I think that is more about for Nucamp, but I think it's really important to just try to answer it. Where is it? There we go. So, I mean, great question, Jose. For recent graduates, what is the strategy? And it's always a challenge when you launch something new on a special date. What do you do for everyone who came before? The good news here is all the new content, so all the integration that we're doing in our courses, adding the labs, the videos that explain the labs and all that are available for graduates. That's part of what we have. It's a lifetime access to our content. So you can go back, you're going to see the courses being updated, and you're going to see those new activities showing up. So you have access to that. The subsidy, the 12-month subsidy is for new students, so you won't have that. But again, the unit cost is also not prohibitive, so you should also be able to kind of do those exercises. And some labs, actually, especially the first ones, are actually on the platform free of charge because they are really fundamental labs, so you'll be able to do that. Let me if you've seen a question that you want to answer, let me know. I'm just looking at. So that's a question. That's actually an interesting question. What is post-COVID world? What is the Google policy for employees? Do you know? Is it still 100% remote, or what's the latest on that?
We are 100% remote. Some roles are return to office. I think a lot of roles are return to office several days a week and several days remote. I think most stuff is like 3 days remote. I don't know the policy, so I'm not gonna quote it. A lot of it is based on team. So there are some teams that have to work very tightly together, and so they prefer to have people in office or at least close by. And even the ones that are, remote like to have people close by so they can get together if they need to, or they're at least on the same time zones and things like that. But yeah, and some roles are 100% remote. So it all depends. And I can't quote anybody, and things change very, very quickly. So
yeah, I'm in the office today.
Yeah, you're in the office right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, in Toronto.
Not because she has to be, but because she wants to be.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
There's two questions that I think we should probably tackle, and I'm happy to do it unless you would like to actually answer those around the hiring freeze. I mean, that has been the headline. And if you're in the shoes of someone, wanting to change careers, almost ready to make a move, join a coding bootcamp, or really kind of, take a sabbatical year. Some people do that. And you're seeing those headlines, it's kind of scary sometimes to wonder, okay, am I going to have a place in this current environment? I'm happy to actually answer it, but I was wondering if you wanted to also take a stab at overall, what's going on in the tech industry, hiring freeze, and what would you say to someone who's thinking about, investing time and energy in learning, Google Cloud? What do you tell that person regarding their future prospect, considering those headlines?
I'm going to say, don't let it deter you. This comment is not speaking for Google. This is my own opinion, and that's my disclaimer. But I've seen people get hired during this whole process.
Yeah.
We've opened up to, I know, critical roles. I know we've seen people come on board, be paused at other places. We have not stopped interviewing. And when I told you earlier about kind of we'll keep your stuff on file, go through the process. Do not let it discourage you. Get on the list, go through the interview, try it, and the recruiters will hold it. And even if things are paused and even if things are frozen, as soon as they come off, you'll be in the system. You won't go to the bottom of the pile. And continue to do it and continue to try. And like I said, I've been in this industry for a lot of years. I worked through 9/11 when things went bad, and it comes around. And so don't let it discourage you. Learn the skills. Use the time if you can't get in the door to learn more and to better yourself. And that's really the key.
Yeah, if I can add to that as well. When I graduated, it was in the very beginning of COVID. I remember myself and my classmates very worried about jobs, all these things. So, plus one to what Alan said, just being resilient and positive, and keep on learning.
Yeah, we actually wrote about this in a blog article. And I will actually kind of add to what you just said, Alan and Nathalia. These are headlines. If you actually look at the employment statistics, we're still needing people in the engineering space. You can't really be too fixated with the FANG, right? I mean, especially since you probably were going to have a path to them that's not immediate. If you're starting to learn right now, or even if you've graduated 6 months ago, you want to look way beyond, 5 companies, the top companies. You want to look at local startups. You want to look at brick and mortars companies that have an IT department and are desperately looking for talent. And so, yeah, these are headlines. And the other thing is, those jobs are not disappearing. They're, to your point, Alan, they're paused. And the current situation, the economic situation, is going to improve 12, 18, 24 months. And that's actually when you're going to be ready with your new skills. So it's actually the perfect time now to learn those skills, because all those jobs that were frozen, they're going to reopen. And then there's going to be a massive need for the skills that you will have just acquired. So yeah, don't be too discouraged by those headlines. Let me see. Let's take a few more questions, and actually, we're going to be very close to the end. Oh, that's a great question for you, Nathalia. Connecting back to, what can we do to help minority groups, women in techs? What is your view of, the alternative career pathways at Google's? Like, and I'll add something to that at the end.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel that I have seen a lot of people with untraditional backgrounds, and as well, I do feel that what ties it all together is really the passion for technology and just having the willing to learn. For example, even some of my coworkers were before kindergarten teachers, and it's just it's amazing seeing how your passion for technology can take you in a different route completely. So I would say for the question itself, yes, we do have problems in the pipelines, but just being resilient and having programs, GI programs in the industry, it really helps. And alternative career pathways are everywhere. So I wouldn't be discouraged if you haven't started in tech, or if you don't have 20 years in tech like Alan. I would say that just be resilient and love what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Nathalia. I wanted to mention that there's a big trend in the tech industry at large to remove the degree requirement for positions. And I actually just Googled it yesterday, and it's actually a fact as well at Google, where for most positions, a degree is not required anymore. Matt, I see that you have a question for us, and I see that you joined us here. If you would like to join us on stage, please switch on your camera, and then we'll bring you on stage and we'll have you ask your question. Otherwise, I'm just happy to ask probably Alan to answer it. Let's actually, all right, let's bring it up. Matt has a question. He's a security engineer. Is backend DevOps SQL Python track appropriate for becoming a DevSecOps engineer? What do you think, Alan?
I'd say the more you can learn, the better.
Yeah.
DevSecOps is, I'd say, a specialization. And I think that's definitely, as a security engineer, it's great to understand development is great. Putting it all together is the key. Yeah. And that's really where it comes into play. So understanding how to code, but DevSecOps isn't just security and then development. It's how to develop securely and how to actually release code securely and understand all of the aspects that come into security around DevOps, around the pipelines, around what's going out, but also around like dependencies. And so, I think back-end development is key, but it's not everything. And there's a lot of things that you want to get beyond that, but it is a core.
There's a ton of questions that actually I'm realizing. Let's try to get to most of them. Do you have 5 more minutes to try to go through them, or do you have a hard stop? I'm guessing it's pretty late for you both, huh?
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll take some of those, and then if I feel like you'll have a better answer than me, I'll ask you to chime in. So Heidi, you can actually sign up for front end and decide near the end if you want to upgrade and go to the full stack. So that's, if you're wondering, do that. Just sign up for front end, see if the UI, the front end really works for you. And then if you're curious about full stack, you can just add the full stack component, which is an additional backend Node.js module to it. Can you expand on the labs process? Alan, do you feel like you could just maybe summarize what does it mean actually to launch a lab on the Google Skills Boost platform?
I can talk about that for a second. I know Nathalia has kind of a hard stop and she's got to drop here.
Okay, all right.
I'm happy to.
The office
I'm happy to go into that. No worries, Natalia. I'll talk to you Monday.
Hold on. I really want to thank you, Nathalia, for joining the stream. It was really great to hear from you and your background and your experience, especially, as a leader in the women in tech community, and hearing, how you got into Google. And I know you've inspired a lot of people and made new friends apparently as well. I think you're going to get a ton of connections on your LinkedIn tonight. But again, thank you so much. Looking forward to, of course, our ongoing conversations as we run this partnership.
Thank you all, and bye.
See you, Natalia.
Good night.
Thank you, Nathalia.
Okay, so the question was about labs.
Yeah.
Our Google Cloud Skills Boost platform, it basically allows you to launch instances of Google Cloud. And what it does is it has, call it disposable instances. So you launch it, it sets up a brand new Google Cloud instance for you, a brand new project. You get to do your stuff, you sign out, it destroys it a couple minutes later. So you're not charged for it. You don't have to have a Google Cloud account. Just follow the instructions to use incognito and get through there. And it does allow you to do that. So basically everything you would see as an end user in Google Cloud, where you're setting up resources, you're creating VMs, you're deploying software to serverless services. You can do all that through the labs.
That's huge. So, and it's called a sandbox, right? I mean, the technical term
essentially
is kind of, you have everything that you want and you can play around without, damaging anything.
Yep. Just follow the instructions. Don't try mining Bitcoin on it. We do check for that. It does allow you to go through and, follow through and actually learn and click around and learn Google Cloud without having to use your own credit card or money.
That's right, which is huge. This one is probably for me. Aiza, we have a Slack workspace, but it's only for students. So we don't have a public Discord or Slack. It's a good idea, actually. We never really spent any time trying to figure that out, but maybe at some point we'll have something for everyone who wants to join Nucamp. Right now it's kind of private for students and graduates and instructors. Let's see. Oh, there's a question for you here. Oh, wow. I don't want to spend too much of your time, so maybe we'll see if you have a quick answer for that one.
I do not have an answer for that one.
Yeah.
I would say I'm not a recruiter and I'm not on any of the DevOps teams. DevOps is kind of a global skill that's required for every team. At the same time, software development is kind of the same sort of thing. And so just being comfortable in understanding and being comfortable what you're doing, going through the interview process. I don't know exactly, and I think every team's requirements are different. Yeah,
that's fair. Last question, and then we'll wrap it up. How does the Women's Scholarship work? It's actually, you have a step-by-step on our website. If you actually go to nucamp.co scholarships, you'll find the Google Cloud Women in Tech Scholarship. And so you can follow those steps. And Krista just said, hey, don't go with the public Discord because it's a Wild West full of mess. Thank you for the recommendation. Alan, we're going to wrap this up. I know. Thank you again so much. I know you're actually double thank you because you're joining us from Florida, where we know there's been a hurricane going through, one of the toughest one. Thank you for actually joining us from there. I know you were somewhat impacted between you and your parents. Again, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show. We are looking forward to working with you on the integration of those labs. I don't know, do you have maybe parting words for the audience here, the people who are kind of really full of hopes and wanting to get a job in tech, or build the skills, I would say, and then get a job in tech? What would you tell those individuals?
Yeah, really what I've seen come through the chat a couple times is keep on learning. Yeah. It's really the most important thing, is keep learning and don't give up. I've seen a couple comments about, frustrations and not getting called back, and just keep on trying. And, it's not all about software development. Tech is a very large field. I'm in learning services now. I've been in DevOps. I've been in software development. I've been in networking. I've been in, infrastructure engineering. And there's lots of different things, business analysts, QA. There's lots of places. Don't assume you have to walk in the door as a software developer, and really just keep on doing it and don't give up. And if you have a passion for it, it's the most important thing, I think.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for those final words, Alan. Really appreciate everyone. Thank you for watching. It's obviously very exciting to have you here, and we're super excited as well to bring Google Cloud and those labs to you. It's available now if you're a student, if you've registered for the Full Stack Bootcamp, and you're just starting, or you will be starting soon. You will have access to those labs. So again, thank you. Have a great evening, Alan, and everyone. Have a great weekend as well. Take care.